This episode of The Edge is brought to you by Audible.com, offering more than 180,000 titles for smartphone, tablet, and desktop. To get a free audiobook of your choice and help Trek.fm at the same time, visit audibletrial.com/trekfm. And also by Enterprise in Space, an international program of the nonprofit National Space Society. Find out how you can help science and education and become a virtual crew member aboard the NSS Enterprise Orbiter by visiting enterpriseinspace.org. And if you want to join the conversation and share your thoughts on this episode, join the Babel Conference, our listeners group on Facebook. Just type BABEL into the Facebook search field. We look forward to seeing you there.
You're listening to Trek FM.
What have you done out there on the edge of Federation space?
Hello and welcome to Tracks from the Edge, Trek FM's show where we provide audio commentary for all the new episodes of Star Trek. I'm Mike.
And I'm Max.
And today we're going to be talking about Star Trek Discovery Season 2, Episode 11.
Episode 11?
Yeah. Infinity War. Project Infinity.
Perpetual Infinity.
There you go. I knew it was one of those.
It was.
I came close, right?
You had one of the words. The second time, first time, way off.
Anyway, this is our 30th episode, which means if you count the cage, we now have as many episodes as Season 1 of Star Trek, the original series.
Yeah, deal with it, the 60s.
So, we're going to be talking about this episode. Before we do talk about this episode, might as well mention the credits. The credits for the various people who worked on this episode.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Let's do it. Let's talk about these people. Let's get some pronounced names wrong.
So this episode was directed by Maja Vervio, who has directed once before for Star Trek. She directed a short trek, Runaway, the best short trek, despite what anyone says. Am I right?
I don't know. I'm kind of stuck. I'm like, Runaway's great. I kind of love Calypso. It's a tough call.
Okay. And this episode was written by two people. Alan B. McElroy, who we've talked about before, creator of the Spawn cartoon from the 90s and a few other things here and there.
Yeah.
And Brandon Schultz, who, much like last week's writers, is an assistant to the writing staff on Discovery. So here he is getting his shot. So, are you ready?
Oh my God. I'm so ready for this.
Okay. All right. Going to be talking some time travel. Watch this episode twice in preparation.
All right.
And we are starting in the black after the CBS All Access logo, about 8 seconds in America. And if you're ready, Max?
Okay, totally ready.
We are going to start this up in 3, 2, 1, start. Previously on Star Trek Discovery, some
Bunch
people
of people beamed in.
Yep.
And then they milled about for a bit.
And hijinks ensued. So, hey, we've been talking all season long about the value of these sequences, right?
Yeah.
And I will say that this one was rather valuable in a sense because through the power of editing right here, they made the connection between Control and Leland getting stabbed in the eyeball, something which, in retrospect, we should have picked up on, but didn't. So,
I mean, I figured that was one of the options.
Yeah. But regardless, he's not dead.
Nope.
So
he's a Borg now.
Yep. And, yeah, so This episode is really dense. There is a lot of stuff where they're talking about stuff which has happened before, but in ways that you wouldn't necessarily put together. And, because it happened a long time ago and because it involves specific names of places and things which you didn't really remember.
Yep.
And watching it the second time, I really picked up on a lot more of that stuff. But it is dense. Would you agree?
No. To me, it feels like to me this reminds me of like the part in a book where your interest flags because it's kind of an exposition dump.
See, I mean, like I know what you mean by that. I don't agree with it, but I know what you mean by that.
I mean, that's how I saw this episode as being like we're moving a lot of pieces around, we're doing a lot of stuff, but like ultimately it's sort of just like getting all the furniture set up before a party.
Maybe, I don't know, but I think that it really does answer like a lot of questions that were hanging out there for the rest of the season, so that helps things in that regard.
Sure.
So here we see what happened to Michael and her parents.
Mm-hmm. And because we're always very screen specific, her dad is going to shoot some Klingons with a phaser, and that's going to work out fine.
And her dad's name is Mike, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Which is cool, because that's my name.
Yeah, and he named his daughter his name, like, George Foreman did with his daughter.
George Foreman didn't do that, but Sidney Poitier did.
George Foreman didn't do that? That's what I thought. I thought I read that somewhere.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I know George Foreman's thing was that all of his sons are named George.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
I thought he also had a daughter named George. That's what I thought. I mean,
yeah, it could be, whatever. I know Sidney Poitier's daughter is Sidney Poitier, but he spelled it differently. I think his is S-I-D and hers is S-Y-D.
Or he was just worried about SAG rules.
Maybe. I mean, she usually goes by like Sidney Tamelia Poitier or something like that. I don't know. Except in Death Proof, because I'm sure more than anything, Quentin Tarantino just wanted him to be like, oh, I got Sidney Poitier to star in Death Proof,
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever. Anyway, so here we are in the present. I like that cut. I mean, the editing in this is really good. Oh, which, by the way, another thing, there's an editor whose name we hadn't seen before listed in the credits here. And on the good old Twitter, the editor, Scott Gamson, said that is his assistant. So there you go. This is the episode where all the hardworking assistants get a chance to shine. It's cool.
Yeah, it's not like, like this is like a minor game. Like this is a big deal because a lot of huge things are done in this episode. Like Michael Burnham meets her mom. That's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's Spock being all Spocky. Oh, you're awake. That's not what I was hoping for. Well, whatever.
Was he hoping for?
He's like, you're awake sooner than I expected. Oh, well.
Oh, you're here. I have no emotional reaction to that.
Talking about you, but, whatever. That's cool.
I was going to say some bad stuff, but now that you're awake, I'm going to be like, Michael's great, right? Guys, let's get a round of applause. She's super. She really nailed that whole baiting the Red Angel out of hiding thing.
So this is kind of cool. I think that this is, well, I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff going on here. But okay, onto the Leland thing. I have there's something like damage to eyeballs really freaks me out. Like
you and the Comics Code Authority, man.
Is that a thing? Okay.
You didn't know that? Yeah, that's one of the rules. No, like literally, there's a rule like no damage to the eye.
You know that's one person in the office who is just like, you know what, I can't stand when eyes are damaged, and can you just put that in there too, just because I don't want to deal with that when I'm reading. Batman.
But he like saw it in a comic and he was like, gross. What?
Yeah.
Oh, let's not have that anymore.
Well, I'm with that person. Like this guy, his like red eye. I'm just like, oh God, I can't deal with it. I just can't. It freaks me out so much. I just nothing. I mean, oh God. Like the other day, my boss was talking about how she spent like 10 minutes trying to get contact out of her eye, and then she realized that she didn't have a contact in her eye. And I'm just like, that means you were just like touching your eyeball, just like, I can't deal with that. Freaks me out. Anyway.
All right. Here's the thing. If you wear contacts, and I sometimes do not put them in or remove them like any time in like within a day of eating anything with hot sauce.
Yeah, I'm not gonna ever wear contacts because I cannot deal with the idea of something being on my eyeball. Anyway, so here we have some.
Borg nanoprobes.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who are like, are they showing us the origin of the Borg? And it's like, haven't we done that like 3 times already? Do we really need to see another Borg origin story? Okay, here's a little interesting anomaly in the credits. Sonequa Martin Green, Doug Jones, Anthony Rapp, Mary Wiseman. Nobody. Wait, where's the next? Shazad Latif and Anson Mount. Hey, the Wilson Cruz spot was blank. And, they've done that before. We've talked about that at great length here. But in this one, Wilson Cruz is not credited, and yet he's probably in this episode more than like any other episode. So someone messed up. How much you want to bet, especially since this is all streaming, and we know this from personal experience doing this podcast. Oh, we messed something up. Take it down, put something new in the feed. I bet you at some point someone is going to be watching this episode and they're going to be listening to this commentary and they're going to be like, what are you talking about? Wilson Cruz's name is right there. But it wasn't. I saw that it wasn't. You saw that it wasn't. Right? Back me up on this.
I saw whatever you want me to see.
Oh. Okay.
There were totally 5 lights.
I thought for sure you were going to say, like, his name was right there. Just for a minute. It doesn't matter.
There were 5 lights. Trust me.
Okay. Anyway. So, here we are back in the episode.
Yep.
And I think that this is a really cool device.
The way that they used little floating camera drones so that like Michael could watch a found footage film of her mom as time traveler.
I mean, that's a little okay. But the idea of like seeing the story, seeing what happens in a little video, it's very Disney World-ish. And, I mean, people might be like, she was trying to go back an hour. How did she go forward 950 years? I mean, anyone who's ever edited in Adobe Audition knows exactly how that happens. Like, your hand just slips as you're scrolling, and then all of a sudden you're 30 minutes in the other direction on the timeline. It's a very...
You know how it goes, Adobe heads. They get it.
So, anyway...
Well, yes. I mean, like she travels way into the future because for some reason she's anchored to 950 years in the future.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay, so she was like, I'm going to set it for this, and then even with that first jump, they were like, we're pulling you to this point. Okay.
Yeah, look, here's the thing. I'm doing a lot of work on my own to make this show make sense.
Well, I mean, here's my question for you. Okay?
All right.
So we understand the butterfly effect. We understand that every time you go back in time, you're essentially creating a new timeline, right? Okay. So
do you understand that?
I think I understand that. So if you are anchored to this spot 950 years in the future, and essentially, I think, as they say, there is like a micro wormhole which is open, which is connecting you, tethering you to the future, right? You're still in that future while you're changing the past, which will then change the future. So does that mean that she's going back again and again and again to an alternate timeline from the ones that she's creating? Because it doesn't seem like she is, because she talks about those dudes that she stole from Earth during World War III and stuck on that other planet.
Yep.
So explain to me how this works, Max.
It doesn't. Like there is a line in this episode where it's coming up, and I'll address it then. But like she says, time is a living thing. It has gravity and will, and it's pulling the AI closer to us. And that's a dumb thing to do, because basically she's saying, like, time isn't like an impersonal, like detached physical phenomena as a result of the nature of the universe. It's an entity. Like it is pulling things in a certain way. Like
you don't think she was just being like, metaphorical there or something like that?
No, because
people say that about like the Earth all the time. Like the Earth, it's a living, breathing thing.
Well, you can make a solid argument for that. You can make an argument that like the ecosystem of the Earth, like it has like mechanisms built into it that keep it functioning in a certain way, and like a living thing, it can die, and it like the Earth breathes. The Earth, like it does a lot of stuff that living things do.
Okay. Then maybe what she was doing was like what Picard, was doing when he's like, or Soren or whoever it was.
Time is a companion. It goes with us on a journey.
Time is the fire in which we burn.
Time is a predator that stalks us all our lives.
Right.
Well, time is a predator that stalks us all our lives, and time as a companion, those are metaphorical things. And if she's speaking metaphorically, it still doesn't make sense, because she's saying, like, time is not something that, like, is a result of the laws of physics. Time is a different thing. It has gravity and a will. And it for sure doesn't have gravity. It's created by gravity to a great extent. So, no.
Okay.
And I really hate that. But, like, the idea that they're saying that time is not an impersonal, detached physical phenomena, it's something more than that. They're doing something that they did in 12 Monkeys, the series, which allowed them to get away with a lot of things, because you could always say, like, you could literally say about 12 Monkeys, well, that happened because time allowed it.
But see, again, I think you're taking it the wrong way, because, there's lots of times I'm like, I hate my phone. It's such a jerk.
Look, I would love it if I could say, like, honestly, that what she meant was that time is an inexorable force that guides us to a place. But what she really, if she was saying that, what she's talking about is not time, but history.
Okay, so maybe
maybe she's talking about history. It doesn't work, because every time she goes into the future from the past, after she's changed something, she should be arriving at a different future. So if she goes back in time and saves people and goes back to the future and the people are there, oh my God, it worked. I changed the past. So then time doesn't have a will that's guiding something. Like, she changed something and she went into the future and it stayed changed. Like, time didn't care about her saving those people, but apparently you can't change some things. Like, Michael Burnham's going to die by murder at some point, and she's like, I've seen you die 100 times. And I'm like, you're 950 years in the future. You've seen her die every time, because she obviously died at some point. That's a crazy thing to do. So the problem with this is that she's saying this thing that doesn't make sense, and if you use it metaphorically, it still doesn't make sense, because that's just not how history works. You change one thing in the past, the entire future changes. If every time she goes into the future and it's radically different in an unnoticeable way because all the planets are barren and dead, because the AI wipes them out the same way every time, it's still a different future. It might look the same, but it's still completely different. So when she goes back in time, she still saved the people on Earth further back in time, so she's not overwriting that change.
Mm-hmm.
But when she goes back into the 950 years in the future point, it's not the same one. The wormhole isn't in one point in the future. It must be in all of them. And that makes sense because, it's a wormhole. It exists in space. It's in a place in time. Of course it's there in the future. Why wouldn't it be? Unless at some point it was destroyed, which is plausible.
So she's going back to the future that she changed.
Yeah, obviously.
And that works?
Conceptually, that works so far. The problem then is why? Why is she going back in time to save Michael Burnham when it doesn't make sense? Is she just trying to save Michael Burnham in order to say, like, oh, she got more of a life before the AI killed her or something?
Well, I think that, that's like one of those things where it's like, I'm just going to keep this thing going.
Well, why is she going back in time further in the future every time she goes back in time?
Well, do we know that she is?
We know that she is because, like, all of these things that have happened, like, they're in her past. We're seeing her past at this point in time. So from her point of view, the time that she is in right now, when she's brought back to this past, is the past that is manifested by all of the changes that she has already made.
I know, but I mean, like, that doesn't mean that there's going to be other things further in the future. Well, maybe that's why. Maybe it makes sense to start in the past and then work your way up one step at a time. Make all the revisions.
You can build on the changes that you've already made.
Yeah,
that makes sense. That's fine. But it means that she has changed things gradually, significantly over time. So why is it that they're still talking about time as this mysterious, non-linear thing? It is linear. She's in a branch that she created. Like, if she goes back into the future and then returns back into the past, earlier in the past, she creates a different branch, and the branch that she's in right now, she can no longer access. So all of these different pasts and all these different futures, they all still exist. They're all still present. They're just different ones, parallel to each other.
Yeah, so then to answer your question, why she's doing this, I think it's so that she can live in a timeline that she likes, right?
Yeah, but she's apparently going about it terribly. She's going back in time in order to change things, but she's adding onto her changes each time, but she's not getting anywhere with these changes. Why isn't she going back further? Why isn't she going back much further than she's been going and change things right at the beginning? Start a whole new branch, reboot the system, see what happens when you start over from scratch.
Pull a JJ is what you're saying.
Yeah, why not? That seems to be the best way of doing it. She wants to prevent the AI from taking over the galaxy and wiping out all sentient life. Well, hey, go back before they made it.
Yeah.
Like, this whole thing is like if Sarah Connor was actually in the future, had the time machine, and was like, all right, I want you to send me back to 1991 so that I'm going to go to Cyberdyne Systems and get that chip and destroy it. No. You go back to right after you crushed the Terminator, and you're like, hey, past me, this is future me. I'm just going to real quick grab that robot skeleton and bounce. And that would be a great way of resolving all the problems.
I mean, isn't that kind of the problem with Terminator to begin with? The fact that they were like, I mean, that the Terminators were, not going back far enough. I guess with the second one, where they're like, we'll try again, but when he's a kid, right?
No, the problem is why does Skynet care? Skynet didn't send itself back in time. Skynet sent a robot back in time in order to change the past. It can't change the past that it's in because that didn't happen in its past.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. So anyway, okay. Yes. So here we have...
Ash is like, oh no, I guess I'm not going to do this. And Leland is like, oh man, this guy doesn't do what I say. That's rude. I'll get Giorgio to do it.
And they're basically the sphere data is making sure that it can't be deleted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a virus, it does its tricks in order to avoid deletion. I don't know why they don't just pull the hard drives out and toss them into space, but whatever.
Maybe they can't do that. Maybe it's all, tied in, so that you can't, that's not modular or whatever. It's all just like one big, I don't know, solid state system. Is that a thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, if that's true, then why don't they just, get Stamets to hop in that little phone booth of his and spore jump to, I don't know, the Andromeda Galaxy and, just hang out there. Ditch all of your hardware and the AI can never reach it.
They're
trying to save all life. Just leave.
I do like this, the little toggle dial thing, the little speed dial that they've got to move back and forth, like the shuttle dial. I don't know, like you would have on like old like VCRs and stuff. I like that. It's very retro.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's very old school home arcade systems.
Yeah.
Those were very common controlled devices. It was a weird time, man, when it was very important that people be able to scroll.
Well, it came in handy on the video things, like when you're doing linear editing and stuff. Oh my God.
Yeah. Sounds like you had a lot of fun doing that.
Yeah. You want to talk about something that I want to go back in time and erase.
Well, I mean, you can't erase it. It happened.
I guess
you could make a different you entirely,
well,
and then there'd be two of you, and you'd be like, "Hey, other guy, let's do half the work that we normally do. That would be easier."
Yeah,
multiplicity it with time travel.
So, do you think they could keep up this Leland thing and have him be like a robot agent person on Section 31?
A Terminator.
The TV show?
Yeah. No, I don't.
But I can totally see them setting up like Ash Tyler to be, like a regular on that show, right?
Yeah, I mean that would make sense. It seems to be a place that works for him.
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't have to be around the guy he murdered and his ex-girlfriend.
Yep. Although it looks like they might be getting back together, right?
I mean, I think that they are for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't see much evidence of it in this episode, but
well, there was the teaser for next week, so she just said Hamlet. Hell yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Did you see those lens flares that were just covering up her mom's face? Oh my God, I don't know. It's the blinding light. I don't know. Oh.
I gotta say, it seems like sometimes you're addressing a criticism that you are expecting.
Oh, it's not one that I'm expecting. It's one that I see all the freaking time. I just saw that I saw some review of like not last episode, but the one before that, and they're like, oh, blah, 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 episode. Thankfully, the director of this episode doesn't like lens flares.
And here's the thing. My feeling is if you're big, if you think that the worst thing that J.J. Abrams brought to Star Trek is lens flares, you are wrong. That is not the case. The lens flares that J.J. Abrams brought to Star Trek are absolutely the least objectionable.
J.J. Star Trek is great.
It's not. So this is a point where Michael's mom tells her, like, I was there when you graduated and when you were, like, reading this book and when you were with Spock. And I'm like, no, you weren't. How is that a thing? You can't have been there. You're in a flying Red Angel costume. No.
See, I got the impression that she meant that there was, like, some way that she could, like, see this stuff, right? No?
I got the impression that she read some diary entries in the distant future and was like, wow, my daughter went through a lot after I, quote, died. That's a bummer.
I don't know. I mean, I think she was being literal in that case, but I don't know. I mean, here's one thing, which, I mean, maybe I missed out on something like when they were developing the technology, where the technology first came from for the Red Angel device thing, but, like, they made a big deal throughout the first half of the season that clearly time travel was involved because the Red Angel suit was so technologically advanced that it had to have been from the future.
Or from, a couple people with a lot of engineering skill and a great sense of style.
And I mean, that's the thing though, right? I mean, because, like, unless I'm forgetting some little piece of backstory involving the Klingons or something, like, it is from the future, but it's from the future after she went to the future from the past, right? So it's not super duper super advanced tech.
Wait, you're saying that you think that the way they were able to build the Red Angel suit was with technology that was brought back in time by someone wearing the Red Angel suit?
No, well, I'm saying that's the only way for it to make sense based on the dialogue which we heard earlier, which is that this must clearly be from the future because the tech is so advanced. Unless I'm missing something here.
I think that you understand it correctly, but what you're assuming is that they're right.
Okay.
I think that the best explanation is that when people said, "Oh, it's so advanced," they were just wrong.
Okay.
They just were not aware.
Okay, but and you could say that. I mean, that's a way that you can sort of justify that in this story. But I really do think that what they were trying to tell us as filmmakers was this is a suit from the future, but it's not. Yes, it's a suit from the future, but the suit itself, like, originated in the past.
I don't think that that's been said anywhere or implied.
What?
That the suit is either, like, based on the technology of.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there have been multiple times where they say the technology in the suit is so advanced that it must be from the future.
Yes, multiple times they have said that. Yes, they have to be wrong.
Okay.
Because it doesn't work otherwise.
But I really do think that that was what the filmmakers were trying to say. I don't know. That's just me.
Who cares what they were trying to say?
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
That's fair.
They're trying to say that when you go back in time and you change stuff and you go back into the future, the stuff that you change doesn't matter somehow. What they're saying doesn't make sense.
Okay. And we just saw Spock say, "I like science." That was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, using another piece of stuff which came from an earlier episode in the season with the dark matter bits.
Oh, this is a weird moment. When I was watching this for the first time, Giorgio was like, unacceptable risk to the larger mission. And she said, that's an interesting turn of phrase.
Mm-hmm.
And I audibly said, no, it isn't. But then they called it back later. So she's like, oh, that interesting turn of phrase that he used, an unacceptable risk to the larger mission. No, that's stupid. That's not a weird turn of phrase. That's the kind of thing you say when something is an unacceptable threat to the larger mission.
I guess so. But I don't know.
No, they're forcing it. They're underlining her like noticing this turn of phrase so that when she remembers it later, you go like, oh, she's not like an android. She recognized this weird thing that Leland said. This weird thing about how, when something's dangerous, it's dangerous.
Yeah, and the thing is they didn't need to have that line in there after the way that they cut it later on.
No.
Was sort of like
they did not. They actually cut back to him saying it.
Yeah.
But instead of doing the easy thing, they had Giorgio go like, "What a weird sentence that you just said."
Yeah. But I have a feeling that was like a Star Trek 6 edit where they're like, "Oh, the people don't know what she's talking about. Let's
flash back to who these people are because all we're hearing is their names from a Vulcan."
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't like that edit.
I mean, it doesn't work in Star Trek 6, but they could have made it work in Star Trek 6, and well, someday I'm gonna do a fan edit of Star Trek 6 where I modify that.
Oh boy, what does Nicholas Meyer think of that?
I honestly don't think that Nicholas Meyer remembers the changes which were made to his movies.
Yep. Yeah, he's got bigger things to worry about.
Yeah, like that Khan series that is never going to happen.
Nope.
Yeah.
So here's where we get to another bit of confirmation that Mira Giorgio is going to turn out to be a hero.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a shock. What a weird thing that they just did.
I mean, whatever. It's still a cool moment, right?
Sure. I mean, these people are great. They're really good actors.
The heroic things that she's done or she's going to do. Okay, so apparently she's going to save Burnham. She saved the little baby Klingon thing. Right?
Yep, little baby Klingon, and then made a head.
Yeah, you always got to bring up the head, don't you?
Well, I gotta say, nothing this season so far has topped baby head. So, I mean,
it was an interesting choice. It was a very interesting choice, but whatever.
I think it was a great choice.
And
I don't know if that was like a controversial thing, but it's a great choice, guys.
It wasn't as controversial as I thought it would be. Like when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe what I'm watching right here. And there was not. I mean, there were a few people who were like, what the hell is going on? But for the most part, people were just like, oh, that was a cool story. And I'm like, this is weird. Like, what am I watching? Anyway, so, but then there's the whole her getting Stamets and Culber back together too.
Yeah, that's still our trying to see it in a positive way.
No, I think that's what's happening.
All right. I mean, like, I hope that's what's happening. That was my first read, and then later on, I was like you expressed like doubt about like what was going on, and I was like, I feel like this is what's happening, but I'm not certain. Like, I wouldn't be like flabbergasted if it turned out to be something else.
No, I mean, it's like one of those things like, on Twitter, someone said, every time you guys say Picard show, the Picard show, all I can think of is like, it's like a late night Johnny Carson type of show, but with Captain Picard. And
Wait, is that not what you were picturing?
No, I was just picturing I wasn't picturing anything.
Oh, I was picturing basically the Larry Sanders Show.
Yeah,
but like Jean-Luc Picard is the main character.
the thing is, like, we already got that right with blunt talk, but whatever, it doesn't matter. So if there's that, then I mean, Section 31. I mean, can't Section 31 just be like, millionaire matchmaker with Giorgio? Like, wouldn't that work?
I have a hard time seeing it in that format.
I mean, I think that could work. I think we're onto something here.
I mean, like, I love the idea of like a matchmaker show in the Star Trek universe. I think that's good. That's a solid thing. I just don't quite see that happening.
I mean, I think last week we were talking about it, I think, as more of a, like literal thing. But I think if we go the reality route, by we, I mean whoever's making this show, that isn't going to happen. I think that would be really, really solid.
All right. Yeah. All handheld.
Yeah.
Like, basically like
it's
loosely
shot
scripted.
with those flying drone thingies.
Yeah. Just get some flying drones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Why not?
All right.
So now we're closing in on the end where we're dealing with all of these plans about how to deal with the Red Angel, and the Terminator shows up on the planet's surface, and they get into a firefight with it, and it's like, I don't know. This episode has a lot of stuff going on, and I was not interested in most of it.
I mean, I was interested in most of it because there was so much stuff which was like, oh, that thing that happened where we didn't know why that happened. Well, this is why that happened. I mean, like the idea of, like that the big mystery from, I think it was episode 2, where it's like, why were these people transported from, they were taken from this war when they were about to all be killed, and all of a sudden transported to a random planet in the middle of nowhere. And it's like, oh, because she was trying to, save a small piece of humanity. And the reason why it was that planet was because that's where she's hanging out now.
Yep.
I mean, like, that stuff I thought was really cool. The whole thing with why they ran into the sphere and everything. And then, they even get to the thing where, I mean, because of course we always need to have more mysteries, but she was answering so many questions this season that Pike's like, yeah, so then what about those 7 signals? And she's like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, what are you talking about? I didn't do any 7 signals. I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah.
So the 7 signals, she's not responsible for those, but those happened in the past. She's never heard of the 7 signals, so she hasn't done the 7 signals yet. So apparently she is able to get the 7 signals that happen.
Oh, do you think that's what it is? You think that's what it's
No, because I'm sure that's what they're doing, but it doesn't make any sense because she's in the past that she created. She came back in time from her future.
But you think that's what it is? You think that she's going to make the 7 signals in the future?
It's really hard to predict events when like characters have like time machines that don't follow any sort of logic. Because like you could just say, oh yeah, Hermione has a thing that allows her to go back in time. Even Harry Potter got time travel better than this. There's an episode of DuckTales that nails it, and this show is getting it wrong.
Okay, it happens, right? I mean,
it happens so often. It's maddening.
It's that's what Star Trek does.
Yep, they set up a house of cards, and then they ruin it, just like the series House of Cards.
Yep. So,
this is a very like upgrade fight scene.
I see. I kind of think of it as being like Alien, like Ash. Ash is a damn robot.
Yeah.
Although in this case, it's not
dissimilar.
Ash who's the robot; it's the other guy. But
Yeah, and this one, like to me, like his like detached but like perfectly executed fighting moves, where he's very like still and stoic. It's very upgradey.
See, I haven't seen Upgrade yet. You're the second
pretty great.
You're the second podcast host in like the span of 3 days, which has told me that I need to watch Upgrade.
No, then don't watch Upgrade. You don't need to see it.
All right. Cool.
If you've already been told. Oh, so a random person just got killed.
Yeah, I was thinking that. Like, we better make a big deal out of that one too, right? That was, I mean, that's one thing. Like Enterprise, which I always found to be like really cool because, like, TOS, red shirts die left and right, and we don't even remember it by the time the episode ends, right? But like,
oh yeah, characters get killed by monsters, and by the end of the episode, they're like, "Monster, you're all right. Let's get some pizza and chill for a bit."
Yeah,
and it's like, "Oh wait, you did murder a person."
It's kind of like the way they treat Jason Statham's character in the Fast and the Furious series.
Yeah,
because he's introduced by killing Han Solo, and then
now he's killed a bunch of cops,
with
and then blew up the hospital his brother was in.
Oh, so you've been watching them, huh?
Oh yeah, I've seen several of them,
cool.
And I don't like any of them, but I mean, they're not the worst.
At least we're making progress there, At least you're watching them. So, okay, no, but the thing that I was saying was. I have no idea what I was saying anymore. Guess it's just time to move on.
You were saying on Enterprise
really
when like a random person died, They were like, "Oh my god, can you believe Steve is dead? That's crazy. I miss him."
No, I mean, like, basically, like, even though Star Trek has a history of like killing off random crew members and sort of not mentioning it again, like. Someone pointed out, I forget where this was, if it was in an article, if it was at a convention or something, but someone pointed out, like, you guys have gone like 2 seasons and haven't killed a single crew member. So, like, that's weird for Star Trek, but also...
Except for Culber.
No, we're talking Enterprise.
Oh, Enterprise? Okay.
Yeah. So that's weird for Star Trek. But when it happens, when someone dies... Are you going to make a big deal out of it now? And they're like, trust us. Yes. If and when someone dies, it will be a big deal. And then when someone finally did die on the show, like, Archer was like, I mean, which is how the reaction would be, right? I mean, that's...
Yeah, somebody dies, you make a Chewbacca noise. That's how it goes.
That was my rage growl.
Okay.
I don't have a lot of rage, so I'm.
You should maybe work on that.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's just a thing. Anyway, that
I'm a little disappointed in this fight scene because, like, come on, this woman was either a crouching tiger or a hidden dragon. I don't remember which one, but.
I think it's...
She should be better than this.
I think this fight scene is better than most. So, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
So, this is where there's a little bit of confusion. I don't know. I was talking about this with my wife, trying to figure this out. The suit is anchored to a specific time, but then it seems to imply that she is anchored to a specific time as well. But
yes,
in other dialogue, it seems like it's the suit, but it's not. It's just both of them?
It's both of them,
okay.
Yeah.
So she theoretically got sucked back to... So she doesn't even need the suit to time travel, really. At least not back to where she was.
No, she needs the suit to go back in time.
Okay.
She does not need the suit to return to the anchor point.
Okay. All right. So then theoretically, because like my wife was like, is she going to survive because like she doesn't have a helmet on or anything?
Yeah, high up is she?
Yeah.
Like, she's not in orbit, but like, is she 30 feet in the air? She could die.
Well, but I mean, how do we know? I mean, what's the relation? I mean, maybe she goes 30 feet up in the air here, but then ends up like on the ground, on the planet.
Sure.
In the future.
There's a lot of assumptions going on.
Yeah. I don't know. one of the things that I really like that they do in this episode is they keep on showing Burnham like watching these things obviously very intently because she's learning about everything that her mom went through in the past. Well, we don't know how long it's been still, but every time someone comes in and is like, hey, she's like, doop, and then very quickly turns it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many times in the past couple episodes has Spock entered a scene by coming through a door and then like talking to the person? Because it seems like he's always entering scenes a little bit into them.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't think about that. I mean, I guess that's something which is naturally done. And that's
he's never the primary focus of the scene. Yeah. He's always like popping in. He's like Norm for everyone.
Yeah, he's like Kramer.
All right, you guys need anything? Any pep talks?
Yeah.
Any like critical analysis of your problems? Because that's what I'm here for. That's basically all I'm good at, apparently.
It's an interesting thing. The other thing which I've noticed this season in particular. Like almost like there was a mandate or something like that. But there is really sort of like this glorification of transporting. Like you never just see like a shot of like someone on a transporter pad beaming in or out. It's always like camera circles around them as they beam in, or camera goes through their torso like right before it finishes materializing, or like there's some really some of like the most complicated shots in this show are of people beaming. It's just strange.
Yeah. Oh, in this next week on, Michael Burnham says like the future isn't written yet, and I got some bad news, but a whole bunch of it has been written, and a lot of it aired on UPN.
Yes, this is true. This is true. Whatever. She doesn't know that. She hasn't seen.
Who's going to tell her this?
She hasn't seen Voyager.
I do not want to be the one to break this news to her.
Oh, well.
All of your problems right now that seem really dire and involve the entire galaxy, yeah, those get worked out. Apparently, they get worked out, but when your mom goes into the future over and over and over again, they're not worked out? No, doesn't make sense.
I'm not 100% positive on that because there's 1,000,000,001 YouTube channels in there which are still talking about how, in this episode, whatever episode it happens to be of Star Trek Discovery, there's proof that this does in fact take place in an alternate timeline, not the prime timeline. And that's clear evidence that, Alex Kurtzman hates Star Trek and all the rest of it, I don't understand anything that they're saying. It makes less sense to me than time travel, but, maybe they're right.
No, they're trying to find a problem, and you don't have to try that hard. There's a whole bunch of continuity errors in the show itself without involving the previous Star Trek materials. So, yeah, don't worry about it, guys. It's the same. It's the same timeline, despite us seeing a whole bunch of them.
Okay.
So maybe it is not the same timeline yet, but it will be later on once they fix the future.
Fair enough.
Or they go back in time and prevent Michael from being born.
Okie dokie. Be sure to check out our Discovery coverage throughout the week. We have Live from the Edge with Bruce and Brandy. We've got Postcards from the Edge with Amy. We've got the main show with Patrick. And then we have Notes from the Edge, which will be coming up with Chris. And then, of course, there's us doing Tracks from the Edge. You'll find all of these in our main feed for the Edge or in the Trek.fm master feed. We'd love to hear your thoughts on Discovery, and the best place to do that is in the Babel Conference, which is our listeners group on Facebook, where Amy Nelson will collect your feedback for Postcards from the Edge. You can also find us on Twitter at TrekFM or send us an email using the contact form on our website at trek.fm/contact. Choose to send to a show and choose the Edge. We also like to thank our associate producers, Norman C. Lau, Tony Robinson, Thomas Puleo, Lisa Slack, Shoab Mirza, Richard Rutledge, James Muldrow, Cornelia Reitner, Ryan Malett, and Brian Malosh. Thank you very much, everybody. We really appreciate it. If you'd like to help us keep all of our shows going and even become an associate producer, visit patreon.com/trekfm for all the details. Well, I guess that's pretty much it. And until next week, enter your tracking number here. Does that work?
Yeah, nailed it.